Hey Ami, welcome back to another episode, and all the episodes link you will get in the description box, so please check it out. Jungkook car reached the company. They parked the car in the private area. Throughout the journey, both Jungkook and Taeyong had not single word. They can hear only sound of their breath. Both the boys got off from car. They saw their parents are standing and waiting for them. Taeyong started to walk towards them. Before that, he saw a hand grabbed him. He turned and saw Jungkook grabbing his hand. He didn't understand why Jungkook is doing this. Jungkook left Taeyong's hand and then he took out something from his pocket and placed it in Taeyong's hand. Taeyong looked at it, then he saw it's a black mask. Again, Jungkook gave him something. That is glasses. Taeyong didn't understand what's going on, as if Jungkook understand Taeyong's confusion, so he said to him, "There is a media in front of company. Even though we are going inside by private passes, we have to be careful. I know you don't like publicity and people surround you, so wear them. At least it will cover your face." Taeyong nodded at him. He wore them and went towards his parents. Taeyong, Mrs. Kim and Mrs. Jian, you go inside through private passes. We will come through the main gate. Jungkook should face the media. He have to build good relationship with them, Mr. Kim said. When Mr. Kim and Jungkook came in front from company, they saw there are a lot of media persons and shareholders are waiting to for them to welcome new CEO. All the shareholders and board members gave flower bouquet and welcome wishes to Jungkook. After that, now Jungkook had to interact with the media. Jungkook stand in front of camera. Beside him, Mr. Kim and Mr. Jian stood both of his right and left side respectively. Congratulations, sir. How are you feeling now after becoming CEO of one of the biggest company? One of the reporter asked. I am very excited. I know I have big responsibility on my shoulder now. Jungkook said with confidence, filled soft but yet a strong voice that voice can make everyone to listen him. After a few more questions with Jungkook, then all the media person looked at Mr. Kim and asked him, Sir, we never saw your son. Where is he? Mr. Kim didn't want to make the situation worse, but he don't know why the people are just can't stop asking about his son. He don't want to ruin his son's freedom. Then he heard, I thought you are here to congratulate me, but you are focusing on some other person. I think I have to leave now, Jungkook said in jokingly manner, which lightened the situation. Mr. Kim felt relief. He don't know what to answer. Every time they ask about their son, he is so tired of this. Then Jungkook started to turn, but he stopped by the reporters. Mr. Jungkook, sorry for that we have another question for you. Another reporter asked him. He nods him to ask question. You are so handsome and charming. There are a lot of people who wants to know, are you ready to date someone? A lady reporter asked like she is a fangirl. The question startled both Jungkook and his family, but Jungkook is so happy because what he is going to say now. Sorry guys, I am already reserved and my heart is already taken by someone, he said, like he is telling whole world like he is pampered for someone. The reporters are shocked and surprised at the same time. They know how can be such a handsome person still be single. Of course he would be committed to someone. Can you tell us about your lover? One of the reporters asked. Jungkook didn't hesitated for a bit. He can't stop himself from talking about Taeyong, so he said, "He is an angel from heaven, born on earth only for me." He said boldly. There is no hesitation, no shyness in his eyes. His eyes and voice filled with pure love and affection towards his lover. Now everyone knows that CEO Jian Jungkook is not available for anyone in this lifetime. Mr. Jian and Mr. Kim is startled by Jungkook's bold statement. At the same time, Mr. Jian didn't want people to dig in his son's personal life, so he speak up. Guys, thanks for coming here. I think you got your answers. Now we have to leave. As you know, new CEO have to introduce himself to his employees, so excuse us. They turned and went inside the building where the employees are waiting for their new CEO. Now, meanwhile, in private room of CEO office, Taeyong, Mr. Kim, Mrs. Kim, and Mrs. Jian sitting on the sofa. They are looking at the screen which is playing Jungkook's interview. They saw Mr. Kim, Mr. Jian, and Jungkook entered in hall. Mr. Kim, Jungkook, and Mr. Jian is settled on chair on the stage. The hall is completely filled with old and fresh new employees. Some of them are just joined and some of them are interns. All of them are cheered when Jungkook entered the stage. Taeyong saw his mother and auntie who are very deeply looking at skin. Taeyong then thought and said, "Mom, can we go there?" Mrs. Kim turned to his son and said, "Of course we can go if you are okay with the crowd." Mrs. Kim also know Taeyong can't handle crowd. It make him feel restless. He never asked before this anywhere to enter in crowd. Mrs. Jian looked at Taeyong and said, "If you really want to go, then let's go and we'll guard you," she said and turned to Mrs. Kim to ask what he said. Mrs. Kim didn't say anything. He stood up from sofa and said, "Shall we go?" Taeyong and Mrs. Jian also got up from their position and followed Mrs. Kim. Event hall, Taeyong, Mrs. Jian, and Mrs. Kim entered in the hall. All the people looking at stage now turned to the door from where three most elegant people are coming inside. They all know the cute and beautiful man is wife of Mr. Kim and most elegant and beautiful woman in her 40s but still look like young beauty is wife of Mr. Jian. Now they all know their new CEO inherited beauty from where. Then they look at the person in the middle who is in age of might be 20s. He is wearing black mask and glasses on his face. His body looked like professional hot model. His legs are long and slender. All of them are thinking, who is this guy? Even Taeyong covered more than half of his face, but still anyone can say that there is hot and beautiful face behind that mask and glasses. When Taeyong looked at the people who are gawking at him, he immediately held Mrs. Yan and Mrs. Kim's hand who are beside him. Both Mrs. Kim and Mrs. Yan looked at Taeyong's eyes and assured him he is fine. He nods at them. On the other side, three pair of eyes are looking at them. Their eyes have emotion of proud, jealousy, and surprise. They don't understand why their respective lovers are here when they literally told them to sit in their office. Jungkook, Mr. Jian, and Mr. Kim looked at each other and said, "Mr. Kim, who called them here? Mr. Jian, not me." Mr. Kim and Mr. Jian looked at Jungkook, who is looking at them. They coughed to get his attention. He looked at them with a look. What? They glared at him. Then he understood. Jungkook, why should I call them? I don't want people to drool over my baby. Mr. Jian, Mr. Kim, and Jungkook are in the same state of mind. They know their wives are beautiful. Whole hall is drooling over them. To get everyone's attention, Mr. Kim looked at his assistant and said to start event. Mr. Kim, Mr. Jian, Mrs. Kim, Mr. Jian looked at their husbands. They know their husbands are very possessive about them. Now in the list, Jungkook is also there. Mrs. Jian and Mrs. Kim smirk at their husband and they sit in front a row with their son. Mrs. Kim, oh my, they are so jealous. Mrs. Jian, they just can't tolerate people looking at us after so many years still behaving like teenager lover. Mrs. Kim, yeah, but their jealousy makes us love them more. Mrs. Jian, yeah, you're right. Mrs. Jian, I remember when they used to punish us. They were such a beast in jealousy. Mrs. Kim, yeah, I know. What punishment, auntie, and who is beast? Mrs. Jian and Mrs. Kim looked at each other. Nothing, baby, we are just blubbering something. Mrs. Kim said, why I have such a tense son, he muttered himself. Then the event started. Mr. Kim announced the Jungkook as new CEO. Whole hall filled with cheers and for new CEO and congratulate Jungkook. After some time, Mr. Jian gave him a speech and he said his employees to cooperate with new CEO and work hard for Jian's company. The event is completed. All the three men from stage and came near their love of life. Mrs. Kim, Mrs. Jian, and Taeyong also stand up from their place. Mr. Kim kept his hand on Mrs. Kim's waist. Mr. Jian also did the same while Jungkook and Taeyong just looked at their parents. Jungkook couldn't control his inner voice. Oh my gosh, you both are behaving like teen lovers, he said to their dad and uncle. Taeyong, it's true. Mr. Kim, age is just number, guys. Mr. Jian, our love is always teen. Mrs. Kim, yeah, whatever. Mrs. Jian, now let's go. I want to see my son on CH here. All of them started to walk towards Jungkook's office. The employees are still waiting for their boss to go out. Mr. Kim went with Mrs. Kim. Mr. Jian went with Mrs. Jian. Jungkook also started to walk, but he stopped and turned. He saw Taeyong is standing still without any movement. Jungkook went near him and pat on Taeyong's shoulder. Jungkook, are you okay, Taeyong? Taeyong didn't know what to say. He is still feeling nervous and fear around so much people. The fear is one of the reasons that he didn't take over on this company. Taeyong, Taeyong started and Jungkook understood what Taeyong feeling. He slid his hand on Taeyong's waist and started to move. Taeyong just stared at Jungkook, who is now looking at their way. Taeyong calmed in that touch. Instead of feeling uncomfortable, he felt he is safe in Jungkook's hand. He don't know anything about Jungkook, but Mr. Jian, Jungkook's heart is already feeling something which is never felt for the any person throughout of his life. Taeyong is still staring at Jungkook like he lost in those eyes. He didn't notice he already reached the office. Now all the four pair of eyes looking at them, then thought something happened. Mrs. Kim called him baby, but he got no response. Mr. Kim also called Taeyong, but still no response. Then Jungkook pat his cheek by his hand. Then Taeyong came out of his dress. He looked at their parents who is staring at him. Then he noticed he is in front of office. He felt embarrassed, so he immediately freed himself from Jungkook and his head banged on the wall. Ouch, Taeyong said. Jungkook is so fast to catch Taeyong before him falling on the floor. Mrs. Kim also came on the other side. His baby, are you okay? Let's go inside. We will see you get wound on your head or what. Taeyong is still holding his head by his one hand. Jungkook's one hand is on Taeyong's waist, whereas Mrs. Kim's one hand is on Taeyong's shoulder. All of them went inside the office, made Taeyong to sit on sofa. Mrs. Kim sat beside him. All others are looking at the mom and son. Mrs. Jeon handed water bottle to Mrs. Kim. Mrs. Kim asked Taeyong to drink water, but Taeyong didn't say anything. He just placed his head on his mother's lap. All of them also settled on sofa. They are waiting for some response from Taeyong. Instead of that, they heard a snoring sound. Mr. Kim glanced at his son sleeping snores. Oh my, how easily he went to dreamland. Mrs. Kim looked at his husband while caressing his son. I think he panicked due to the crowd. Jungkook, then why did you bring him, uncle? Mrs. Kim, he wanted to come in crowd. Mrs. Yan, so we completed our baby space. Mr. Kim, but he never asked before to come in crowd. Jian, yeah, it's new. Mrs. Kim, I think it's because of Jungkook. All of them, what? Mrs. Kim, what? How he agreed to Jungkook for date without any argument, which is though impossible. Just nothing allowed Jungkook to keep his hand on his waist. Jungkook, what do you mean, uncle? Mrs. Kim, I mean he is falling for you, Jungkook. Or maybe he is already into you. That's why he came in this event. But as you know, my son is tense, so he can't understand what he is feeling, and he don't show his feelings on his face. Jungkook, oh really? So everyone, this is it for today's episode. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, take care, safe, and if you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Bye.